In a so-called 5-star mental hospital, patients don't get cured. They disappear. Behind the locked doors, a deranged director is turning human beings into test subjects for his secret drug experiment. What begins as treatment soon becomes torture, and one man will risk everything to uncover the truth. All right, let's get into the story. Matt's mother dies in a sudden accident, leaving his younger sister mentally unstable. Her condition worsens so much that she's forcibly taken away to a psychiatric hospital. Matt begs to take his sister back, but the hospital keeps rejecting him with all sorts of excuses. They won't even let him see her. Desperate, Matt decides to infiltrate the hospital himself. He strips off his shirt, walks into the street, and pretends to be insane. Soon the police arrive, inject him with a sedative, and just like that, Matt gets exactly what he wanted: entry into the same mental hospital where his sister is being held. After the initial diagnosis, the director declares Matt severely ill and sends him straight to the high-risk ward, a place filled with violent, unstable patients. A guard warns him, "Don't mess with the old man across from you." The guy may look weak, but he's actually terrifying. He's already dominated every patient in the ward. Before the guard can finish his warning, the old man suddenly starts howling in pain. The guard almost opens the door to help, but Matt quickly stops him, realizing the old man is faking it. Thanks to Matt's quick thinking, the guard avoids falling into the trap. But Matt's luck runs out fast. He's already offended the most dangerous man in the ward. The old man rallies everyone to attack Matt, but Matt doesn't even flinch. He's not planning to stay long anyway. The next day, the director comes for rounds. Matt acts calm and collected, so they transfer him to a normal ward. What he doesn't notice, though, is that the crazy old man suddenly becomes polite and obedient in front of the director, almost like a loyal servant. In the normal ward, things seem less violent. The patients just act weird. While Matt is walking around, one patient suddenly grabs a nurse by the throat, shouting strange words. After a moment of hesitation, Matt presses the emergency alarm. Guards rush in, followed closely by the director. The director says just a few words, and the violent patient immediately lets go. And clearly everyone here fears him deeply. The nurse thanks Matt for saving her. Once she leaves, he inspects the window. He hasn't forgotten his escape plan. But suddenly, there's a noise inside the closet. He opens it and finds another patient hiding inside. The man quickly explains he means no harm. He's just curious. He tells Matt that every patient who gets sent to the high-risk ward comes back violent with silver pupils, except Matt. The man suspects the hospital is secretly experimenting on people. And he's right, the crew cut patient who attacked the nurse earlier is now lying on a test table. The director and his assistant inject him with a new version of the drug. Soon, the man's pupils glow faintly silver. Meanwhile, Matt keeps plotting his escape. During a group therapy session, he finally sees his sister again. He rushes to explain everything, but instead of being happy, she gets angry. She tells him this isn't a place you can just walk out of. Still, Matt doesn't give up. He steals a piece of wire from under his bed and tries to pry open the window, but cuts his hand by accident. The next morning, during a therapy meeting, drops of his blood fall on the floor. The moment the crew-cut man smells the blood, he goes berserk, roaring and charging at Matt. An old woman drops to her knees and starts licking the blood off the ground. Chaos breaks out. The head nurse tries to call the guards, but the crazed man bites her hand brutally. Guards rush in and subdue them, but Matt's doubts are now confirmed. The director is drugging the patients with something unnatural. Terrified, he storms into the director's office, confesses that he faked his illness, and begs for his and his sister's release. But proving you're not insane in a mental hospital is harder than faking it, and the director has no plans to let a sane man walk free. Matt yells that he wants to leave, and as punishment, he's thrown back into the high-risk ward, where everyone is even more deranged than before. Desperate to survive, Matt pretends to accept his illness, and finally gets transferred back to the normal area. Now, he fully understands his sister's fear. Once you enter this hospital, you'll never get out as a normal person. He joins forces with the curly-haired man, who knows a lot about the place. Though the man has little hope of escape, he agrees to help Matt as much as he can. Late at night, while the guards are on patrol, the two sneak out of their rooms. They slip into the security room and steal an access card. Following the man's directions, Matt avoids the surveillance cameras and finally reaches the place where his sister is being kept. Using the stolen access card, Matt finally reaches the ward where his sister is being held. The moment she sees him, she drops her act, crying and begging him to take her away. She says every patient here has been forced to take part in drug experiments, and almost every night she can hear screams echoing through the halls. Matt promises he'll get her out, but first, he needs a solid plan. As he heads back to his room, he runs right into a patrolling guard. Panicked, he rushes upstairs to escape, and by accident stumbles straight into the director's laboratory. In one corner, an iron cage catches his eye. Inside, shockingly, is the crew-cut man who attacked him earlier. Swallowing his fear, Matt searches the shelves and finds a vial of strange liquid. Suddenly, footsteps echo from the hallway. The director and his assistant walk in. Matt hides behind a shelf and overhears their conversation. The assistant urges the director to stop the experiments. The drug is too dangerous. It drives people insane, and worse, it's highly contagious. But the director refuses to listen. To him, this is not madness. It's the next step of human evolution. When they finally leave, Matt sneaks out with the vial in hand. The horror of what he's discovered fills him with rage and disgust. The next morning, he finds the curly-haired patient again, and they start planning their escape. The drug sample could be the key evidence to expose the director. Just then, another patient approaches, claiming he found a stray cat. Without warning, he crushes it to death, and the splattered blood sends every drugged patient into a frenzy. In an instant, the ward erupts into chaos. The crazed patients attack wildly, and Matt is thrown to the ground. Luckily, guards rush in and subdue everyone with electric batons. Matt isn't hurt, but his fear and frustration boil over. These patients aren't human anymore. They're turning into blood-hungry monsters. Yet the head nurse thinks Matt's condition is getting worse and wants to send him back to the high-risk ward. Thankfully, the long-haired nurse stops her just in time. Matt knows he can't wait any longer. He's still thinking of how to escape when the door suddenly bursts open. It's the curly-haired man again, knocking out a guard and stealing his keys. Now they can move freely through the corridors. They rush to the 4th floor. But when they reach his sister's room, it's empty. Matt's heart sinks. She's been taken to the lab. Sure enough, in the lab, his sister is strapped to a table. Before the injection begins, the assistant tries to test the drug on the crew cut man again. But in a split second, the man breaks free and grabs her arm. With a loud crack, he snaps it in half. The director hears the scream and rushes in, carrying the wounded assistant to the 2nd floor emergency room. No one's watching Matt's sister anymore, but the director has already seen Matt and the curly-haired man on the surveillance feed. He calls the guards, but no one answers. In frustration, he accidentally damages the power system, triggering a total power failure. The security doors to the high-risk ward swing open. The mutated patients pour out like wild beasts. Screaming and rampaging through the halls, Matt and his partner run for their lives, fighting off monsters while unlocking doors as they go. They finally reach the lab, and to Matt's relief, his sister is still alive. It's time to escape this hell once and for all. They push through to the ward again, but the place is empty. The mutants are gone. When they open the fire exit, they realize too late. The way out is blocked. From above, the infected drop from the ceiling. Matt realizes it's a trap. He scrambles to restore power to the elevator while the others fight back. But instead of attacking them, the monsters start devouring their own wounded. As long as there's flesh, they'll eat anything. Taking advantage of the chaos, Matt opens the elevator. They jump inside just as the deranged old man lunges at them, only for Matt to slash his throat in one clean move. The 3 survivors make it to the basement, hoping to escape through the main gate. But it's too late. The building is overrun. Blood covers the walls and floor. A roar erupts, and dozens of infected charge at them. Matt and the others barricade the door with wooden sticks. Suddenly, a woman's scream echoes behind them. It's the long-haired nurse still alive, but she brings bad news. When the power goes out, the entire building automatically locks down. The main gate is sealed. They'll have to find another way out. They arm themselves in the kitchen, grabbing knives and pipes, but another wave of mutants attacks. Matt leads the group, fighting while retreating back to the 2nd floor. Passing the director's office, he finds a pistol on the desk. Finally, a real weapon. In a nearby room lies the injured assistant. Realizing his end is near, the man breaks down in regret. He admits everything: the experiments, the secret lab, and a hidden tunnel on the 4th floor that leads outside. He begs them to end his suffering before he turns. The nurse grants his wish with a syringe. The survivors rush to the 4th floor. On the way, a mutant leaps out of nowhere, biting the long-haired nurse in the neck. Matt shoots the creature dead, but it's too late. The nurse collapses. Swallowing his grief, Matt pushes forward. The stairwell is blocked by mutants, so they climb through the ventilation ducts, circling back around until they reach the 4th floor again. The corridor is drenched in blood. The mutants have torn each other apart. They reach the lab and finally find the hidden tunnel. But before they can enter, the director appears, somehow still alive. He stabs the curly-haired man in the head with a steel needle right before Matt's eyes. Enraged, Matt attacks, but the director overpowers him. Just as the needle is about to pierce his neck, Matt rolls aside and drives the same needle into the director's body. His sister grabs an electric baton and shocks the director. Working together, they finally take him down, but they don't let him die quickly. They tie him beside the iron cage. Inside, the mutated crew-cut man growls hungrily. Matt and his sister crawl through the tunnel and finally escape the asylum. On the roadside, they flag down a police car and tell the officers everything. The police insist on checking the hospital themselves, ignoring Matt's warnings. They knock on the door, and to their horror, the director, still alive, greets them. Behind him stands a swarm of raging mutants. Before the officers can react, they're torn apart on the spot. Matt and his sister hide in the car, trembling, as they watch the monsters pour out of the hospital and run straight toward the city. And just like that, the nightmare finally spills beyond the walls of the asylum. Matt and his sister sit frozen inside the car, helplessly watching as the mutated patients storm out into the city. The madness has only just begun. That's where this horrifying story ends. A chilling reminder that sometimes escaping the lab doesn't mean escaping the experiment. If you enjoyed this recap, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss more dark, twisted stories like this one. Drop a comment below. What would you do if the infection reached your city?